Hello.
Welcome everybody to Sundays with the Bushes. We're here with another installment of Sundays with the Bushes, where we talk about dating, love, and relationships. I'm Tyrus Bush, and this is Shayon Bush. And we're getting started a little late today. We had some things that we had to take care of earlier, so we're on a little later. But we know most of you view afterward anyway. So we're just going to get right into it, and we just hope that you get a lot of information out of what we talk about today. All right?
Let's go.
Let's go. So last week, we talked about the 3 fundamentals of relationships. We kind of talked about one of the reasons why people aren't as successful in romantic relationships is because they really don't know how to have functioning relationships in general. You know, sometimes they find themselves in contention in a lot of different relationships in their lives. And what we kind of talked about last week was that relationships are basically connections. The dictionary defines relationships as connections. So one of the 3 fundamentals of maintaining a functional connection or relationship is, number 1, this is my biggest thing, is identify the relationship. I don't think I've ever heard anybody talk about identifying your relationship. I don't think I've ever heard anybody really put emphasis on identifying a relationship, or maybe they said it in a different way. But that's the biggest thing for me. I think when it comes to your relationships, they're not successful because you think you're in one relationship, but the other person thinks that they're in another relationship. Like, you know, I see it a lot with people who say, like, oh, this is my best friend. And they're like, huh, okay. They say we're best friends. And it's like, okay, I might be your best friend, but you're not my best friend. You know, but when you can identify the relationship, you know, you have a better understanding of where you are in the relationship and a better idea of how to function in the relationship. Last week, we also talked about a little bit, we touched on it, about prioritizing your relationships. And once you identify your relationship, then it's your responsibility to look at all your relationships and then line them up in the priority that best fits who you are as a person. All right? So we kind of talked about how your first relationship and your most important relationship is your relationship with God. That's the first and the most important relationship, your relationship with God. First and foremost, all other relationships will be defined and they will be established based on your relationship with God. The biggest thing about your relationship with God is it teaches you to humble yourself and to understand that every relationship comes with sacrifice. Every relationship comes with investment. Every relationship takes work, you know, because as much as we love God, we continue to fall short. We continue to mess up, and He continues to take us back and say, you know, I know you're not perfect, but bring it on in. So, you know, our first priority as it pertains to relationship is our relationship with God. And then we kind of talked about the next relationship that should be priority is the relationship with your spouse. All right? Now, a lot of people don't put that relationship next. A lot of people put their parental relationships next, but that's not biblical. When you get married,
come on here, word.
Come on here, word. The Bible says that we are to leave our mother and father and cleave to our spouse. So, the first relationship is our relationship with God, but the next most important relationship is the relationship with our spouse. And I think that a lot of marriages fail is because they fail to prioritize that marriage with their spouse as second only to the marriage that we have with God. And I use the word marriage strategically because in the Bible it talks about the church being the bride of Christ. it was very strategic to use that example when trying to establish the relationship that we have with Christ. We are his bride, and he is the husbandman. You know what I mean? So a physical marriage is a symbolism of the spiritual marriage that we have to God. So just like that is our most important relationship, our relationship with God, our marriage to God, our earthly marriage or our physical marriage is next, should be prioritized next. So, and then, you know, it's up to you to kind of fill in the blanks as to where the next, you know, go.
Right.
But if you're not married, then you have another set of priorities.
Right.
You know, if you're not married, you know, it may be your mother or your father or your siblings, or your grandmother that you have to take care of, or whatever it is. It could be your kids. You may be married but you may not be married but have kids. Right. Kids are a huge responsibility. Once you become a parent, you're always going to be a parent.
Yep.
So, you know, you have to figure out how to prioritize, and a lot of relationships end because they just don't prioritize. I can't tell you how many people we've interviewed and we've talked with, and they'll say, you know, my in-laws were too involved in our marriage. And it's just like, well, you got to make sure that you got to make sure that your wife or your husband was the priority above your parents, you know, and above their parents. So, you know, priority is a big thing. But I'm kind of rushing through all of that because I want to get to what we wanted to talk about today. And that is legitimize. So last week I said that there were 3 fundamentals. The first was, bless you. The first was sneezing.
I'm sorry.
The first was
there's no cut.
Yeah.
When you're live.
This is live TV. You can't just cut on live TV. You know, you got to come prepared with. I don't know what stops sneezes though.
I can't.
Like,
I can't.
can't.
First of all, they say don't do that because it stops your.
I don't know if that's true.
Anywho.
I don't know. Anyway, so we have prioritize. No, we have identify. Then we have prioritize. But what I want to talk about today is legitimize. Every relationship has to be legitimized. And what do you mean by legitimize? A relationship is can only be defined if it's legitimized. All right? Legitimate means that it's real, that it is tangible, that it is both understood by both parties. Because there are a lot of people who are in illegitimate relationships where, you know, they're in a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship.
Posing as a husband
and wife. It's illegitimate. You know, they're doing husband and wife things, but they haven't gone through the husband and wife process. All right? They didn't go through the process of being legitimized in front of God, and their family and friends, which is the wedding ceremony. It's a ceremony to legitimize the fact that you are husband and wife. You understand what I'm saying? So, in marriage, you have that legitimizer, but in other relationships, you also have legitimizers. You are not engaged until he proposes to you. So don't introduce him as your fiance if he hasn't proposed to you yet. Because if you're calling him your fiance and he has not proposed to you yet, you are in an illegitimate relationship. It is not real. It is fake. It is fraudulent. All right? So we need to make sure that every relationship that we're in is legitimized. Some relationships are legitimized by actions. Some relationships are legitimized by vows. Some relationships are legitimized by contracts. there are different ways that these relationships can be legitimized, but you have to be sure that whatever relationship you find yourself in, that it is legitimized in some type of way.
Right.
All right? Even on the very mundane, even the very superficial level, if you're just boyfriend and girlfriend, then you need to at first, at least, make sure that both of you are on the same page. You know, he doesn't need to formally ask you, you know, will you be my girlfriend? I don't think it needs to be as formal as that. But you both need to come to the conclusion through conversation to say, you know, so are we dating now? Or, you know, are we exclusive now? You know? So with legitimizing your relationship comes communication. And the legitimization, I don't even know if that's a word, but I feel it in my spirit. The legitimization process is one that is ongoing. It is ongoing. It is an ongoing process. After you get married, your marriage is legitimized, but you need to legitimize your relationship as it pertains to your friendship. It needs to, you need to legitimize your companionship. You know, there are different aspects of a marriage, and you need to kind of verbally identify what they are. You need to prioritize them, and you also need to legitimize them through having conversations, through, you know, speaking with each other, and, you know, just getting to know each other on a consistent basis. I think that, you know, legitimizing relationships is the most important thing. And a lot of people strive for it. It's like this. One of the ways that you can legitimize a relationship is taking a paternity test. You know? They go on Maury, because these girls going around town saying, you know, Robbie is my baby's dad. Robbie is my baby's dad, right? So Robbie is like, look, we're gonna legitimize this thing. You know what I mean? If I'm the dad, but I need to know. You know what I mean? Because I'm a little unsure. And they get on Maury, you know, calling that man the dad, trying to force on him an illegitimate relationship. Come out, Maury, and Maury always get him though. He always pause right there. He be like, you are not the father, or you are the father. Like I can't take it. And then they, you know, run off the stage and cry and snot, and then ask the Lord why. The Lord knows why. Look, you need to figure that out. But you know, we're running around here with a lot of illegitimate relationships, and even, you know, in the relationship of a father and son, you know, I was just joking, but in the relationship with the father and the son, that is a way to legitimize it. But ultimately, you know, your actions legitimize your relationship overall.
Right.
Moreover than anything, because you can be married but not in a marriage.
Right.
You know, you can have the paper that says, oh, she and I are husband and wife, and we have mutual assets together, and we file together, and, you know, if I go down for murder, they can't call on her to testify for, you know, against me in court. You know, you have all of those legalities that come along with it, but if you're not in the marriage, your relationship is illegitimate.
Right.
You know? So even though that there are, you know, legal and binding legitimizers, the biggest legitimizers are the way that you act, the way that you communicate, and the way that you pursue a relationship with the person that you're in. And I think a lot of people don't do that. I don't think a lot of people.
Well, that's why we kind of established last week that people are doing this for any relationship. And that's why once they get into that marital relationship, they have no clue on how to be married.
Yeah.
Because they haven't legitimized the other relationships that they've been in.
Absolutely.
You
I
know?
mean, and when you think about a marriage, there are so many micro relationships that are in the main relationship, your marriage. There's a friendship.
Right.
Like, you and I are friends. Like, you should be able to confide in your spouse or your significant other. You should be able to laugh and talk with them. You should be able to, have a good time with them. Like, there are a lot of guys that I know who, when it's time for the guys to hang out, they can't wait to hang out with the guys because they just so sick of their wife all the time. But it's good every once in a while to hang out with your other friends, to get a different perspective. But you should be content with hanging out with your wife sometimes.
Right.
Well,
that's because, like you said, and I think you should say that again because that was a great point. Like, your one main relationship is broken up into different facets of the relationship.
Absolutely. It's you like I said, there are different micro relationships in your marriage.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's because you figure
in a good marriage.
In a good marriage, but even it's about how you maintain them.
Right.
So you always have these micro relationships within the marriage, but it's about whether or not you are functioning in those micro relationships. That's why I'm trying to broaden the spectrum of, not just romantic relationships, but relationships overall, because in your marriage, you have to be friends. You have to be companions. You have to have a leader. And I don't like to use this word because people have the wrong mentality, but for lack of a better word, you have to have a leader-follower relationship. Sometimes in situations, I have to lead the family. And she has to understand, okay, he's leading at this time. He's leading at this time and we won't follow him.
So right now I'm following.
Yeah. But then there are times where she's leading. And I have to say, okay, let me follow her. Let me support her. Let me see where, all of those relationships are tied up in your marriage. And a lot of people think that marriage is one thing. And the problem is people only get married for one thing. They want to get married. They look at, and I don't want to be crass, but they get married so that they have a license to have sex. Like church people, no. And I do understand that the Bible says that it's better to marry than to burn.
You don't want it to burn.
With lust and passion. But the fact of the matter is, some people are just getting married so that they can legally have sex.
Right.
Because whether you want to believe it or not, fornication is still illegal. Adultery is still illegal. You know what I mean? Like, they just don't enforce it. But a lot of...
Who doesn't enforce it?
The law.
Oh.
Like, you can't call the cops because your husband is cheating.
Well, I know I definitely just saw this article. I didn't even get a chance to read it completely because I was at work. But there was a couple, and if anybody has heard of this, please, if you type it so I know what happened. But I know I did see the headlines, and a couple was locked up.
For what?
I don't know where they were. I don't know what state or country, rather, they were in. But they were both stepping outside of the marriage, and they were locked up.
Ain't that something?
And I said to a coworker of mine, I was like, yeah, I like that. Because I feel like, marriage would be taken more serious if people are being locked up for,
Exactly. But people
having sex outside their marriage.
But that's why you can't get married.
I bet you'll never do.
You can't get, I'm not worried about getting locked up. I got bigger concerns to get locked up. But a lot of people, that's why divorce is become an immediate option. Like, people get married, and our pastor said it, a couple of weeks ago, that people are getting married with the intent to get a divorce. Like, I'll just marry her for 5 years and then we'll get a divorce. Mm-hmm. But and pastor was talking about they have divorce kits for $99. Like,
they have straight billboards like, get a divorce for $2.99. That's all. That's it. Do it today.
Exactly, because people, they got married to legally sleep with one person, and they're tired of sleeping with that person now. So they like, look, let me divorce this person and then marry the next person.
Move on to the next.
And it's not like that. When you get into a marriage,
but then you have the people who are getting married with other people in the relationship before. Like, okay, so like, I want to marry the girl. The guy, the celebrity I brought up, before in Sundays with the Bushes back in the summertime. The guy was, telling the two women, like, I'm in love with both of y'all. I love y'all both so much and respect y'all so much that I don't want to cheat on one with the other. So I want to know, do y'all want to be in this relationship? And both of the women agreed. So we're dealing with that too now, and it's becoming more common because people think, well, at least he told me. I'm like,
see, and this is my thing. That's
not legitimate.
It's not legitimate. See, I don't have a problem speaking out against multiple partners. That is not, and a lot of people will venture on to say that monogamy is natural. It is unnatural. Because,
I'm about to say, hold up.
No, yeah.
Wait a minute.
That monogamy is unnatural. Just sleeping with one person for the rest of your life is unnatural. That is some goofy, demonic doctrine. All right? I'll just go out there and say it. Because it is about you and one other person. And this is what relationships do. They challenge your ability they challenge your propensity to be comfortable. So if we want to be we want to be comfortable. You know what I mean? We want everything to feel good to us. We want everything to be good for us. We just want to be happy. We just want to live fun and fancy free. We don't want any responsibilities and all of these things. We don't like pain. That's why we don't exercise. We don't like nasty food, which is why we eat whatever we want to eat. But relationships teach you about sacrifice and selflessness. Mm-hmm. What's natural is to be selfish. That's natural. Right. But there's a moral code of society that calls us to be selfless. That's why, you have people like Dr. King, putting his life on the line for the civil rights of African Americans and other minorities, because we need to give of ourselves so that we can all lead a better life, but we don't want to be, we just want to be selfish. And I think to try to have a bunch of wives and a bunch of girlfriends and a bunch of boyfriends and sleep around with a bunch of people, that is you exhibiting a life of selfishness and pleasure and, and just fulfilling lusts. I think it takes a lot of discipline to be in a monogamous relationship. You know what I mean? Which is, it takes a lot of discipline to be successful at anything.
Right.
Anybody who is successful had to give up a lot. Mm-hmm. That's just what it is. I was talking to my brother-in-law the other day, and we were talking about, successful people, and I watched a documentary on Michael Jackson about Off the Wall, the whole Off the Wall, the Off the Wall project. If you know Michael Jackson, you know what Off the Wall is. And they were kind of telling about how, Off the Wall was such a great album, and it was just, one of Michael Jackson's greatest works. And they had a lot of different people on there interviewing. Some people who knew Michael Jackson. Matter of fact, Rodney was on there, and they had Quincy Jones on there. Everybody talking about Michael Jackson. And then they had Kobe Bryant. And I'm like, yo, why is Kobe Bryant on this thing about Michael Jackson? Like, right. I've never seen Kobe Bryant and Michael Jackson in the same room. Let alone, I don't even know if they're friends or if he knew Michael Jackson. But, after I listened to Kobe Bryant talking about Michael Jackson, I understood that even if he didn't know Michael Jackson, he knew what Michael Jackson had to go through.
He knew the work ethic.
Exactly. He knew the sacrifice that Michael had to make to be Michael Jackson. You know what I mean? So if you want to be successful in a relationship, you have to make sacrifice. While everybody else is out playing and having a good time, you in your backyard shooting 3-pointers until your arm get tired. And when the right arm get tired, you go to the left arm. And when the left arm get tired, go back to the right arm. You know what I mean? When everybody else is going on vacations and spending up all of their money, you you with your brothers, A, B, C, easy, 1, 2, 3. And then, everybody's mad that you Michael Jackson.
Right.
And you have all the success,
Right.
but they didn't make the sacrifice.
Right.
So when people look at successful marriages and see people, who are really committed to making their relationship work, who are not afraid to work on their friendship and work on their companionship and to work on their communication and things like that, don't be mad at their relationship. You can have it too. All you need to do is be more sacrificial in how you approach your relationship.
Right.
And those things will legitimize your relationship. Jesus said it like this. He said, "By this shall all men know you are my disciples if you have love one to another." All right? So what he's basically saying is he said that the world will know that you're his disciples by the love that you show for one another. Your relationship with Christ is defined by actions and how you treat other people.
So that's so good, but I just want to say it like this. So basically, the love that you have for Christ is a reflection of the relationships you have.
Absolutely.
That's crazy.
Absolutely.
That's crazy. So the love that you have for Christ is a reflection of how you treat others, the relationships you're in. If they're
exactly, it's your reasonable service.
I mean, as you're talking, that's how I heard it.
Well, no, but that's what it is though.
Yeah.
Because it talks about this. It says, husbands love your wives as Christ loved the church. He always says like, look, we have a relationship. You and I have a relationship. But the legitimizer of our relationship, what makes our relationship legitimate, is by what you do. He said, if you are not willing to take up your cross, then you're not worthy to be in a relationship with me. If you're unwilling to make a sacrifice, then we're not really in a relationship. He said in the last days, they'll say, Lord, Lord, didn't I cast out demons in your name? Didn't I do great works in your name? And he's going to be like, you never knew me.
Right.
Because you didn't really sacrifice. You did what you felt like doing. You didn't go above and beyond and really dig into the relationship. And that's what legitimizes your relationship with Christ. If I was preaching, I would say that the works you do is what brings glory to God. He said, let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven. God wants you to live daily by giving and showing love and embracing people and letting them know that, that the relationship that you have with Christ and the love that you showed them was because of Christ.
Right.
It's like, there was a person that we adopted who was less fortunate. We didn't bring you any more kids, so don't misinterpret what I just said.
Don't start no rumors.
Yeah. But there was this person that, he was, a little down on his luck, and we adopted him, and every time we, would give him whatever amount of money that the Lord had laid on our heart to give him, I would say, this is in the name of Jesus. Like, I'm doing this because the Lord told me to do it, and that relationship, now we have a relationship with this guy, and that relationship,
somebody we don't know.
Yes.
We never met him through anybody.
Literally met this guy on the side of the road because, this is where we found him. But, the love that we show him legitimizes our relationship with God. So let's take the focus off of our relationship with Christ and put it in our own marital relationships. All right? The fact that, I ask her about her day, and I am interested in seeing what can help her life or make her time here a little better, that legitimizes our relationship, because what it's saying is that I love you enough to put my own feelings aside and my own troubles aside to help you with yours. You know, that's what a relationship is. We kind of
I'm
talk.
always fussing about something.
Well, we talked about last week. We kind of touched on parasitic relationships and symbiotic relationships and benign relationships. The parasitic relationships are the relationships where one person just takes. And you know, you even have to think about that with God. Like, how much am I giving God and how much am I taking from God? Yeah. You know, like the song says, you can't beat God's giving no matter how hard you try. But what we need to do is we need to, in some way, figure out how we can bless God back. And he gives us an example. He said, when you give to the poor, it's like lending to God. You know? So, okay, Lord, if I give to the poor, it's like lending to you. All right, I'm going to give to the poor. You know, I'm going to look after the orphans and the widows. Oh, okay. You want me to help these people over here? Okay, God. We can't do for him like he did for us, but we need to try. Paul says, I beseech you therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that ye present your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable unto God, which is your reasonable form of worship. You know, so all that we do legitimizes our relationship with God, and it's more than reasonable. So, we just talked about legitimizers and the things that make relationships real. I see a lot of fake relationships, and we've been writing this book, and we've been, talking to people, interviewing people. We've been, having casual conversations with family, friends, with neighbors, with people we meet in the mall. Like, we'll meet somebody in the mall, and they'll be like, oh, yeah, I've been married for, 50 years. I'm like, oh, my God. Wait a minute.
Gotta talk to you.
Stop right here. Come here. Put that bag down. So what are your secrets? But the one thing that I found is that for every good testimony that I have of marriage, I do have like 3 or 4 bad experiences in marriage. And what I find as I dig deeper is that it's because they have fake relationships. Right. That they have relationships for show.
It was never legitimate.
It was never really, it was legally legitimized, but it wasn't legitimized through communication, or it wasn't legitimized through sacrifice.
Right.
When you can look at it even like this. There are different levels or different expressions of legitimizing a relationship. And one is physical. You know what I mean? You need to physically show that person that you're interested in them, that you love them. You know what I mean? So we look
married.
At it, well, not even married only. I mean, I don't
you can give hugs when you
I don't disrespect premarital kissing, but I'll tell you, like Brown said, you kissing leads to babies. That's what Brown said.
Sierra says shallow relationships, no substance to the relationship.
Absolutely. I love the word that you used. No substance. Substance. There's nothing. Substance. When you think of substance, you think of raw materials that make up something. Like the materials that you put together, like the wood and the nails and all of those things make a house tangible. Some relationships are just, they don't have any substance. They don't have any material. They don't have any, any real substance. I find that a lot of relationships are just empty. They're hollow. They are just for show, and I think that any relationship can be revived when you legitimize your relationship. So you identify where your relationship is, because, like I said, each of these is an ongoing process. You don't legitimize one time and then never do it again. You don't identify one time and never do it again. You don't prioritize and never do it again. As people, we grow, we evolve, we change. You know, there's nothing in this world that stays the same. There's nothing in this world that stays the same. That's why Jesus had to get up out of here. Because he stays the same. He doesn't change. Ever. So he couldn't stay here. He had to get up out of here because he doesn't change. Everything in this world changes. So there's going to come a time where you're going to have to reassess your relationship and re-identify it. You know? There's going to come a time where you may have to reprioritize your relationships. You know? You never want to put somebody above your wife or your husband. Yeah, you never want to put somebody above your husband or your wife. But sometimes if you have a sick parent or somebody that you may need to come together with your wife and say, look, I got to devote a little bit more time to X, Y, and Z because this is an extenuating circumstance. Mm-hmm. You're going to have to reprioritize sometimes. When you have kids, you can't just lay in the bed every day, all day, on your days off. They will wake you up.
They sure will.
At 5:30 every morning. Yeah. Until they become teenagers and they sleep all day, and then you tell them to get up. But anyway, you may have to re-legitimize your relationship because as people we have different experiences. Like I always think about who I'm going to be after the experience. So who am I going to be after I achieve my goal? So okay, my goal is, I have a new goal. I want to be the president of the United States. I got to fix this thing. That's
not what the Lord is going
when I become the president of the United States, how am I going to act? How is that going to change me?
Amanda?
How is that going to change me as a person?
If you be the president of the United States?
Yeah.
It would absolutely change you 100%.
That's what
But I feel like you would be ridiculous.
Like I feel like you think my ego would be out of control?
Yes. There would be no room for your ego,
Let me tell you
number one.
Something. I'll be killing them.
Number two.
I'll be killing them with humility, man. They'd be like, this is the best president since never.
Since never. Well, I think all Tyrus wants to know is about aliens and stuff.
I gotta know about these aliens, man.
That's not a good president because he just wants to know the secrets that go on.
I need to figure out what position I can hold.
And then once he gets the secrets, he's done.
I need to be the head of B613 because he knows everything. That dude, Olivia Pope's dad, knows everything. I need to figure out how I can be him and Jake. But anyway, I'm just saying, like, what happens, in your life after life situations happen. Like, if I lose somebody very important to me, how is that going to change me?
Right.
How is that going to change the trajectory of my life? And when that happens to me, we need to re-legitimize our relationship through communication so that she can know what I'm going through and I can be open with her about what I'm going through so that we can get through it together. So that on the other side of the valley of the shadow of death, when we come out, we're still on the same page. We're still seeing eye to eye. People don't realize that they drift apart not because they changed. You will change.
You will change. It's inevitable.
You will not be the same. I was 21 and Shay was 20 when we got married, and it's 10 years later, right? She's not the same person that I met then, and I'm not the same person that she met then. But because we legitimized our relationship and our friendship with communication, and we continue to walk together, we changed together. She knew the changes, and I knew her changes. So, the problem is, we're like the story that the preacher always tells. There's a man and a woman, and the woman comes to him and says, "You never tell me you love me." And he said, "I told you I loved you when we got married." She said, "So why are you not saying it now?" He said, "Well, if anything changed, I'll let you know." Like,
Tyrus is that kind of person.
I'm not, though.
You are. Tyrus is like, "Look, I married you, didn't I?"
No.
I'm just kidding, honey.
No, but I'm just saying, you know, you gotta, you have to re-legitimize the relationship. You have to revalidate the relationship. You have to, you know, continually, you know, I'm saying you know too much. Y'all gotta help me with my public speaking. You gotta.
Well, see, you want to be president, but you ain't ready yet.
Please talk about public speaking. Our president says tremendous way too much. Our president says bigly. So I could say, look, I can
listen.
say
The Supreme Court is what it's all about.
Exactly. All of this. But anyway, but he shut us. But he be tweeting about us. Tweet about us. No, but you know, we have to understand that you know, as we grow, we need to take these fundamentals, identify, legitimize, and prioritize. We need to take those three crucial elements of the relationship, and we need to apply them and reapply them and reapply them, you know, so that our relationship will have staying power. You know, it's like a house. You build a house, and in 20 years, you may have to replace the roof. It's still a great house.
Right.
It's still a house that you love. It's still a structurally sound house. But if you don't replace the roof, then you're going to get water damage. And then the water damage is going to get into the walls, and it's going to rot the wood in the walls. And then if the wood in the walls rots, then you're going to have cave-ins, you know? And all because you didn't replace the roof.
Right.
You know, you got to stay up on the maintenance so that your relationship can go the distance. Now, remember, we are not just talking about marital relationships. We're talking about the relationship with your parents, with your sisters and your brothers, with your church family, with members of the clubs that you attend, with cousins and aunts and uncles. You know, I have so many conversations with people who are trying to cut ties with people in their family just because they disagree with each other.
Right.
You have to identify the relationship. If I don't have to spend every day with you, then why am I so vested in what you are, in all of your small opinions? You can have an opinion of me, and I can respect that opinion.
Yes, sir.
And I can go on with my life, and then I can invest all of that energy into the relationship that has the priority. You know, people don't understand that. I hate when people get on Facebook and talk about, you know, I'm deleting people. I'm like, the fact of the matter is, we have to learn how to be in relationships with anybody, because anybody we're connected to, we're in a relationship with. It doesn't matter if you're connected through Facebook. It doesn't matter if y'all go to the same school, if you go to the same church, if they're your mother's brother's son. It doesn't matter. As long as you're connected to somebody, you're in a relationship with them. You need to identify the relationship and understand how to operate in it. All right? So the Bible even tells you that you should pray for your enemies. They're letting you know how to be in a relationship with your enemies. They're saying you're connected to your enemies because they're your enemy, but guess what you're going to do for them? You're going to pray for them.
Yep.
Be kind to those who despitefully use you.
That's telling you what to do.
That's spelling out how to be in a relationship with your enemies and people who don't like you.
Who use you.
Exactly. It says, blessed are ye when men shall revile you and persecute you and say all manner of evil against you falsely for my sake. It says, rejoice in the Lord and be exceeding glad, for great is your reward in heaven. It didn't say, you know, get on Facebook and tell all your business or make a post and don't put anybody's name in it. You know what I mean? I feel like if you're gonna have an argument on Facebook, tell me who you're talking about. if you arguing on Facebook, so I could go to their page and see what they say back.
Right. If you're gonna make it entertaining.
Exactly. If you
put it all out there.
If you want to put the fight on Facebook, let me know who you talking about. Because if you
So
don't,
I can follow.
see, but the problem is, it's an illegitimate argument. Because they don't even know that you're talking to them. It's an illegitimate argument.
Right. Until somebody guesses you might be talking about them.
But
or they may be talking about you.
I don't guess. I don't guess. So this is my thing. So
this is why I stay off of Facebook for that purpose, because it's chaotic.
Y'all better get out here fighting on Facebook. But anyway, so my thing is, I'm saying that what's better for the relationship.
But this is what gets me. When people post things on Facebook and people screenshot it and message it to other people's phones, did you see this post? Who you think she was talking about? I'm like, look, make it easy.
My Tammy Roman.
Put at so and so and so.
See,
so we know.
See, but my thing is this. This is how I know people don't know how to operate in a relationship, because if they have something that they need to say about that person, they need to say it to that person.
To the person.
Don't subliminally, because I'm gonna say this, people wear pink dresses to church with no stockings. You know what I mean? And they need to get their life right before they get, I don't know. Right. Whatever it is, it's better for you.
It's not right in any form. It's not right on social media. It's not right in the pulpit. It's not right anytime where you're not having a conversation with the person you had any issue with, whether it be my spouse, whether it be my friend, cousin, mother, brother, whoever. That's a problem. That's a problem. And I've done it before. I did it when Facebook first came out. I say a little bit of subliminal stuff. Boom. Hit them with that. See what they going to say. But then I grew up and I realized, look, you know what? If I got a problem with sister so-and-so and so-and-so, I'll call her up.
But that's what people need to do. But my thing is, it goes against what's healthy for a relationship. Dialogue is healthy in a relationship. So if there is a situation, that my wife and I are going through, I should go to her and say, B, this is when we try to do right. When we try to do right, because we don't have it together. We work on it. We're constantly in.
Listen, that's everybody. Bishop T.D. Jakes said after 23 years or how many years, he was saying that he's still learning. Every time he thinks he has it right with his wife, she's there to remind him that he does not.
Yeah. So, but like I said,
we're all learning.
So when I come to her and I have a problem with what she's doing, I'm like, B, what you said was kind of, I was taken aback by it. You know what I mean? You almost posed the dilemma when you had said what you said. You know what I mean? But we'll have a conversation.
Don't be that joking.
No.
Like that.
Like I said,
don't be that nice.
I'm trying to make it, PG for the people. But so I'll just say, I'll just express what I'm saying. Arguing is not healthy because it only rehearses the problem, but dialogue is healthy. And you need to be in a relationship where you can tell me your problems, and I can internalize that and say, okay, I'll try to do X, Y, and Z, but while we're on the subject, let me tell you about you, all right? You need to be able to have a dialogue with the people. So my thing is, if you on Facebook and you got a problem with somebody, call them up. Facebook has the option where you can kind of call people, which is why I'm not on Facebook.
You said that seriously.
Huh?
Facebook has an option.
No, because I'm trying to help these people. I'm not on Facebook, so my phone isn't linked to Facebook, but
and it won't be.
Some people phone are direct message them and be like, sister pink dress. I hope that you take this in the right spirit because I'm trying to, and you have to be precise with your words and with your expressions. Mm-hmm. But sis, I hope that you don't take this in the wrong way, but I'm really trying to help. And you can either take it or leave it. If you come with this same pink dress next week, I'm not gonna be mad, but I just want to let you know that I feel like X, Y, and Z. Really come to people and let them know that you're coming to them in love, or don't come to them at all. If you are not trying to maintain the connection that you have, or some connections are involuntary. You can't help the people you work with.
Right.
So the best thing to do is to be at peace with all people. You know, that's what the word talks about.
That's what we strive for.
That's what we, it ain't about that. It's on the calm down. It's on the calm down. All right. So we're, I think we're just about out of time. But what I wanted to talk about very, very quickly was about sharing, and sharing is caring. So we want you guys to go on the Sundays with the Bushes page and like and share. And if you're watching this after the live broadcast or podcast or whatever this thing is called, stream, comment in the comment box. Let us know what you think. Let us know some of your thoughts. Let us know how you feel. If you want to reach out to us, send us a message and let us know, how you feel about certain things or your perspective on certain things. Because the culture of this broadcast or whatever this is not for us to just give you all of our tips, but it's also about creating a community that helps one another, because we're just two people. We're only two perspectives. We're only two heads. We need other people to help us help everybody. So that there are experiences that you had. There are situations that you've been through that we want to know about and somebody else needs to know. What makes people overcomers is the word of their testimony. So when you can share it with somebody else, you bring glory to God and you really help their relationship by, letting them know how you feel about it. So, I guess that's it. You don't have anything you want to add? Anybody have anything that they want to say before we log off?
I think there was one more comment.
One more comment? Oh, wow. It says, many people don't count up the cost of a relationship. You can't get much with little. They want to still be single-minded and call themselves in a relationship. That's silly, because your relationship will only be as strong as the weakest person. Absolutely. 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 And you know what? We might be able to actually talk about that next week. Being single-minded.
Because you could be single-minded as a single person or as a married person. And what I mean by that is there are some people who are single who are looking to be in a relationship, who are looking to be married, looking for someone, but they're so single-minded that they're not even in a place where they're even open to being in the mindset of being with someone else, because they're just single-minded anyway. Like they want to be married, but they don't want to have to be accountable to anybody. They don't want to have to sacrifice anything, and then you have the people who are already in relationships, who are married or engaged or boyfriend and girlfriend, and they're still single-minded. They're not looking at it like, okay, if I want to marry this person, I got to show them that I'm marriage material and that I understand, being considerate, and I understand sacrifice, and I understand all these things. And that's why a lot of times I post about, I speak directly to women, but my thing is always, we're always talking about the man and who he's supposed to be and how he's supposed to come, but we're still single-minded women who are way too independent, not ready to even play that role of following sometimes or leading at times. So I think that that's a great topic.
Yeah, we definitely can get into that. I think the problem is there are different types of ships. People need to understand this. There are different types of ships. And people don't know what kind of ship they want. Some people think that they want a relationship when they really want companionship. There's two different things. A relationship is how you deal with with one or more people. How we operate. Companionship is, I need you to be with me. And it's different. You know, I think, like I said, within your marriage, there are a lot of micro relationships or micro connections that you have in your marriage, and companionship is one of them. There are times where I'm being selfish and I need her to just be by my side. I don't need her to do nothing. I don't need her to, she can't ask me for nothing because I'm not in that headspace. I need a companion. And the problem is, some people want companionship but think they want relationship. So we might be able to talk about that next week. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because that's a good one.
You know?
That's good.
That's different.
Yeah.
That's different. So,
So I guess you guys, hopefully you guys will be able to join us next week. I think that is the 26th, Sunday the 26th at 7 p.m. And that's next Sunday. So just do me a favor, if you've already joined us today, you know, share the video so other people can get on and see what we all talked about today. And then I'll be posting something for you guys to share this week. Hopefully, if you guys are able, I really would appreciate if you just share. Because the more people we can get involved, the more feedback we can give and get. And then, you know, don't be afraid to email us topics, or, you know, if you have a friend who's, you know, whispering in your ear, needs advice, you know, you can always email us at sundayswiththebushes@gmail.com. And you can like us on our Facebook, comment, or post on our Sundays with the Bushes page. But before we go, I do see another comment. I don't want to forget. It says, when we start to realize, make real or genuine, and legitimize our relationships with Christ, then we will know how to operate in every relationship. We must be selfless. God bless.
Absolutely.
So I think that was a great comment.
It's all about our relationship with Christ. Like, everything
goes back to our relationship with Christ, and that's why I tell people too. Like, when you are, if you're getting married or married, it's best to just put God at the center of your relationship. Let Him be the head and all that good stuff, because every problem you go through will be that much easier to get through with Him. Everything works better when you have Him to consult, when you know how He's leading and guiding you. That way you know how to talk to sister so-and-so, or you know how to deal with your husband or your wife or whatever. So that's always my first recommendation.
Yeah. And the reason why is, and prayer is key, because you can't go to God arrogantly. Whenever you come in contact with Christ, you have to humble yourself. You have to. It's an absolute. So if you've just got finished praying and you're about to talk to your wife or your husband or your, you know, whoever you're in a relationship with, you're going to be in a humble state where you're open to finding common ground. God is perfect. And that's what puts us in perspective. God is perfect. He doesn't do anything wrong. Everything He does, everything Christ does, is marvelous in our eyes. So if anything goes wrong in that relationship, it's because of us. When we talk to God, it clarifies and helps us to see clearer our own fallibility and our own mistakes. So before you do anything, pray. Before you get on Facebook ready to write one of those, you know, scathing posts, my recommendation is to pray and say, Lord, you know, should I give grace like you've given me grace? And the answer will always be yes. The answer will always be yes. He's given you so much grace. They did something to you that you didn't like, but what have you done against God? You know? So that's why Christ should always be at the center. We love y'all. We thank y'all so much for watching. We just have a great time every time we get together, and we just want to empower you and let y'all know that we're here for you. whatever you want, whatever you need, just send us an email. Send us an email and let us know. I see what you're saying, Sister Sawyer. And I'm about to shout too. I just need some music. I gotta have music in my shop. No, I'm just joking. All right, we love y'all. We'll see y'all next week. All right, bye.